You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken Tech for your ears.
Welcome, everyone. Maybe you call it Tech Tuesdays, maybe not, but here we are on The Vocal Technologist, ready to get into the nuts and bolts again. Things are moving so fast in how we build and run software, it's pretty astounding, actually. Keeps things interesting, if a bit complex. So today we've been looking at some really compelling stuff that's making systems, more reliable, development smarter, and infrastructure just more efficient. Basically, we want to help you cut through the stream of updates and find the things that, that really matter. So let's just jump in. This quest for unbreakable systems, that's always the big challenge, right? Perfect reliability. But how are we actually getting closer beyond just putting out fires?
Yeah, exactly. And what's really transformative now, I think, is how we're automating reliability itself, even chaos engineering.
Hmm.
Look at Gremlin's reliability intelligence. It's not just another tool. It's kind of like having an expert built in. It connects LLMs, the big AI models, to your reliability data. And then it applies something like, 10 plus years of chaos engineering experience from pioneers at Netflix, Amazon. It automatically analyzes the experiments and tells you exactly how to fix things. So you're getting ahead of problems, not just reacting.
Right. So it's moving beyond just knowing if something broke to predicting and preventing the how and the why. That feels like a huge leap for, system health.
Absolutely. And building right on that, PagerDuty AI Ops. It takes that old heartbeat monitoring the basic is it on check and really elevates it. They use things like cache variables, event orchestration, basically turning it into truly smart automated operational management, not just detection.
Right. Okay, speaking of smart AI, it feels like it's becoming this fundamental driver everywhere. I saw this stat about Dropbox engineer adoption jumping from maybe 10-20% in 2024 to over 90% in 2025. How'd they manage that?
That jump is remarkable. It wasn't an accident, though. It really came down to, strong leadership being on board, a very deliberate rollout plan, and importantly, getting people to share what they learned. They saw AI not just for coding, but as something changing the whole software lifecycle, even product thinking. It shows how deep AI can go with the right strategy.
Makes sense for development teams, but what about down in the weeds? Managing infrastructure, how's AI showing up there?
Yeah, it's getting practical there too. We've now got an open source Terraform provider for OpenAI. So you can manage OpenAI things, projects, rate limits, just like your regular infrastructure code. You could even deploy AI generated content alongside your cloud stuff. And Azure Storage Discovery is in preview now. It pulls together insights on your blob storage and hooks into Azure Copilot. So you can just ask questions about your data in plain English. That's a huge help for figuring out what's going on.
With all this AI power, though, we can't forget security. What's happening on that front?
Right. Critical point. There's this Month of AI Bugs initiative. It's really focused on raising awareness about security issues, specifically in agentic AI systems, the ones that can perceive, decide, and act more autonomously. They're detailing specific problems to highlight the new kinds of security holes we're seeing.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit from AI, how are these kinds of advancements making actual infrastructure and deployment smoother? Because efficiency helps reliability,
Precisely. A great example is Uber. They made this smart move replacing their Envoy VM setup at the edge with Google Cloud's hybrid network endpoint groups. And it wasn't just a swap. It cut their operational costs, made things way easier to manage day to day, and improved latency by up 10% for users globally. It really shows how, even at massive scale, using managed cloud services for the basics can pay off big time.
Yeah, 10% latency improvement is definitely not small. So how are other teams getting deployments consistent across, all their different environments without making things rigid?
This is where things like the Azure Developer CLI and Bicep templates are really useful. Combine them with Azure DevOps pipelines, and you get this powerful build once, deploy everywhere pattern. You end up with consistent deployments tailored for each environment, but with better isolation, better traceability. It makes those tricky rollouts much easier to handle.
I like that idea of golden paths for developers, that easy paved road to get stuff into production safely. How are people building those?
Exactly. Pulumi components and templates are aimed right at that. They help create those golden paths within what people call internal developer platforms, or IDPs. An IDP basically gives developers self-service access to production-ready, reusable infrastructure bits. And it builds in all the organization's best practices, security rules, standards, right from the start. It's about letting developers move fast, but, safely within the lines.
Okay, before we wrap this up, maybe a quick thought on the the human side of development, and then maybe a neat tool.
Well, it's just an interesting observation, isn't it? That developers, maybe myself included sometimes, we often kind of lean into complexity. Maybe because it shows technical skill, looks good on a resume, or it just feeds that creative urge to tackle hard problems. It's a double-edged sword, really. Sometimes great innovation, sometimes just complicated.
So true. And on the tool front, anything catch your eye lately for smoothing out common workflows?
It's Git review. It's pretty simple but clever. It basically treats a code review as just another special commit right in the repo. This lets developers do inline comments, manage the review locally, getting around those often slow, clunky web UIs we usually use for reviews. It just speeds up a common holdup.
What a great run through. It really feels like we're seeing this major shift towards much smarter, automated, and smoother ways of doing tech all over.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, this constant push for automation, for AI help, for really well-designed infrastructure. It's not just making systems better, it's fundamentally changing how we even solve problems in tech. So maybe think about this. What part of your own work, your own projects, is maybe ready to be looked at again through this lens of, let's call it, sophisticated efficiency?
That's a fantastic question to leave you all with. Thanks so much for joining us as we unpack some of today's tech changes. Keep exploring, keep building, and we'll catch you next time.
Spoken Tech, for your ears.